Hello, my lovelies. The time has come for us to have a talk. If you have been living anywhere but under a rock, I'm guessing you know what we need to talk about, right? Yeah, our girl Joann. Let's talk about her. So, welcome back. I am Ellie of Sally and Sim Style, and I am so happy to be back. I had taken a unanticipated hiatus after the new year. After last year, things got busy. If you know anything about me, you know I'm in my doctorate program. I'm also a mom and doing a lot of other stuff at the same time. So I kind of fell off on YouTube. And for those who were waiting, I definitely apologize. I am back. So I thought I could wait no longer. I tried to wait as much as I could to talk about this Joann situation. So we are here in the last little bit of March that we have left, and our girl is closing. So Joann's, there have been many videos. I have been watching these videos, commenting on these videos with the sewing community, and really jumping into how everyone is feeling about Joann. So I thought we could start with like my introduction to Joann's. And as a reminder, I have been sewing for about 15 years. I have only been using sewing patterns, commercial patterns, for 5 years. And Joann's was the start of that for me. So my first time going to Joann's was actually the first time I sewed something, and it was to buy fabric, not the pattern. So I was actually in my senior year of college, going all the way back to 2010, not to age myself. And I was graduating from college, and I wanted to make something for that New Year's. So I went to Joann's because I wasn't really familiar with any other fabric stores at the time. Went over to Joann's, ironically the same Joann's that I go to all the time now. And I got some blackout velvet fabric. I really didn't know how to sew, you guys. I didn't know what I was doing. And I hand sewed that fabric into a wearable dress. So, yeah, Joann's really introduced me to like being inspired, like walking in a fabric store and being inspired to make something. It was the first time I realized like that I had a talent, because for so long I felt like I wasn't good at anything. Like I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't like coordinated enough to play any type of sports, do cheer, do dance, anything like that. Just too clumsy and awkward, quite honestly, to do that. I wasn't like the super duper smart kid. I didn't sing, all these things that people consider gifts or talents I didn't have. So when I discovered that I could pick up sewing fast, it was like, wow, so this is finally the talent that I was missing in the talent show that everyone could participate in. So, yeah, from there, I was able to get my fabric from Joann's, and that was the start of my sewing journey. And although shortly after finding Joann's, I found out about other alternative fabric warehouses, Joann's was always that place that felt like the start. It felt like the start of where I discovered fabric in general, and like the first time I ever went in a fabric store. So yeah, Joann's has a special place in my heart, and especially because in 2020 I started to get committed to trying to learn how to use sewing patterns. Joann's was the place. I thought it was so cool that you could sit in a place and like sit at the table pretty much and like look through catalogs, because as a child I like as a child, my mom always had do you guys know the JCPenney catalog? So she would get the JCPenney catalogs like every season, whether it was like fall, winter, spring, summer. And I would look through the catalogs, and I remember as a kid, my grandma would always say to her, like, why is she so intent on looking at every single detail in the picture? Like, they said I would like sit and like look at every single detail on the picture for like 10 minutes per page. So I would spend like the whole day looking at these huge catalogs full of like women's clothes. You know, it was kind of like a pattern book because it had the women's, men's, kids, and miscellaneous. So it reminds me of my childhood for that reason, because that was the start of paying attention to detail with clothing. And yeah, when I was able to sit at that table in Joann's and do the same thing and imagine what I could make for myself, it was nostalgic for me. And I feel like that is something we will definitely miss about Joann's, because there will never be unfortunately, there will never be another commercial fabric store. Now, if there is one that comes along, you know, come on my page and say you were wrong, but I just don't see it happening. I see online fabric stores being the thing, and I see small business fabric stores also surviving through this, but I just can't see it for that commercial fabric store that is in everyone's neighborhood. Yeah, unfortunately it is now vintage. So as I said, I've been holding out for making this video because I knew I was going to buy fabrics. I was really holding out for those prices to drop because your girl's not paying 20% off on fabric that we usually get between 40 and 60% off. It just didn't logically make sense to me. So the other day I walked in my local Joann store and I noticed that they had put up these signs, and the sign said it was 20% off your total purchase on top of the discount. So I calculated that, you know, so is math. It's like, okay, the fabrics were, I thought 30% off. So I'm like, 30 plus 20. Okay, we hit 50% off. That's what I was waiting for. So I grabbed the fabrics that I wanted, and come to find out, this is right before they put up the 40% off signs on the fabric. So the fabric was 40% off plus 20% off. So that was 60% off of the regular fabrics and 80% off of the clearance fabrics. So of course I was gonna get the fabrics, and I had been picking up like one fabric at a time, but when it was 20%, like I maybe picked up two fabrics in two different settings, because I was just like, I don't know, maybe it's just gonna stay at 20%. I was kind of losing hope, but I'm glad I held out to get majority of the fabrics before the majority of the fabrics when the actual discount went down. So as far as my local Joann's, this has always been a slow store, like always, like just slow, which is why I loved it, because I had my own parking spot that I got every time I went to Joann. Like, it was never full. Like, that was my parking spot. I don't care what anyone says. And I knew I could be my introverted self and walk in and look at fabric and wander around and look at patterns and wander around and look at jewelry and wander around without being bothered by like excessive people everywhere. That has changed. Like, I had to park in the back of the parking lot. That has never happened. So yeah, and the thing is, like, customers are showing up that you could tell are not Joann's customers. They're just like, right now they have hired people. So it's people like on the main street, like holding up the Joann sign, like liquidation, they're closed. So it was random people coming from everywhere, even people who do not know how to sew. And that's the most irritating part for me. Like, I've committed to like the fact that I'm probably gonna go periodically until they officially close. But it's annoying, especially the other day when I went in there, when someone came up to me and asked me if I sew, and they want to start their own clothing line, and they have like all this junk in their buggy, and they don't know how to sew, and they're not committed to learning how to sew, and they just want to start something and hire someone to do it. Like, that's annoying. Let me know your thoughts on that. But yeah, it's just like, oh, save this for the people who are actually going to use it, because it's just like, are you really that's a gamble to buy all this fabric and you don't even know how to sew, and you're hoping you can hire someone to do the work for you. But anyways, yeah, so that has been annoying. As far as the employees have been amazing. It is one lady that actually works at a Joann location that I also go to too, that's about 20 minutes away from me. And I've seen her in that one so many times. But when she came to my regular Joann's, I went up to her. I'm like, don't you work at the other location? And me and her started talking. I found out that she has been working at Joann's for the past 30 years. And she actually initially started at the store that I go to regularly, and they moved her to the other store that's a little bit farther from me. So it's been a full circle moment for her, because now they've transitioned her to the store that she started at. So she's going to close the store out, and it's so sweet, because she said, I told her, I was like, I don't think it'll like hit me that it's not here until I don't see the sign on the building. And the crazy part is, she said she was there when they put the Joann sign up. So I'm like, gosh, just the sentimental stuff like that. It's like, I hate that it is going away, because as someone who loves vintage, loves nostalgia, I think that's what it is for me. Like, Joann's wasn't the most absolutely best fabric store ever, but it was nostalgic to me. Like, I always wonder how it was in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s. Like, how was it when it was like a true fabric store and a true a necessity before we had fast fashion. So yeah, so let's get into the fabric haul, family. I am done yapping, I think, about Joann's. And we're going to get into the fabric haul. And then I'm going to talk to you about where I'll be shopping at. Yeah, let's get into that. But first, let's talk about this Joann's fabric haul. So, I won't be able to provide the prices if I can't remember all the prices, but I can tell you if it was clearance or regular price. So let's start with this floral vase fabric. So I'm sure you guys have seen this before. This has been in the stores for a while. I have had my eyes on it since it's been in the store. It is a really pretty, I believe it's a crepe fabric from what I can tell. Nice stretch, nice flow, just really pretty, really soft hand. I love this fabric. It could be the prettiest summer dress, and that's probably what I will make befit a spring summer dress that's really flowy and pretty and feminine and delicate. So yeah, that is the first fabric. And I believe this was actually in the clearance section. Yeah, it was 60% off initially when I got it. And I got that fabric before they added the 20%. So it was just the 60% off. Okay, next we're going into, you know what? Let's do this. I also got this pretty pink sateen fabric along with the fabric that I just showed you. It was in the clearance section as well. I actually, so story about this. This is how you know, like, you attract what you're looking for, pretty much what is on your mind, because as I said, I'm a nostalgic girl, so I watch a lot of 90s shows, one of those shows being Martin. And if you know about anything about Martin, the show, Gina and Pam had the best style ever. And it was one episode. I'll probably, you know what? I actually took a screenshot of it, so I will put it in the video. It was an episode where Gina had on a pink suit, and it was like a pink blazer with a pink mini skirt with pink heels and a pink purse. And I am not a pink girl per se. Like, I wear pink, but it's not, I have very little pink in my wardrobe. And yeah, she killed that suit. So I was just like, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I want to make a pink suit so I can have that same look. And of course, went in Joann's maybe a few days later, and I saw this fabric. It was the absolute same shade that she was wearing. On the camera, it's coming up a little faded out, but it's like a really vibrant pink. And you can't really tell. It kind of looks like how it looks right there. Yeah, so I had to grab this fabric because I'm like, that's my pink suit fabric. So yeah, I love that fabric, and I can't wait to do something with it. So those were the two fabrics I got initially before the 20% off sale started. Well, the additional 20% off of what the discount was. So okay, and you know what? I told a story. I lied. I also got this fabric as well. So I had saw this fabric at the Joann's that's a little bit farther from me. I mean, if you know me, you know I'm from Atlanta. I'm a original Georgia peach, Atlanta native. So I've been wanting some peach fabric for the longest because I have so many fruit fabrics. I'm reminded of my girl, Talisha from Creativity by T. And she did this fruity collection series a while ago. And yeah, she inspired me to keep collecting fruity fabrics. And I could never find, excuse me, I could never find peaches because of course I want that because I'm from Georgia. And I found them and they were only at that one location. I could not find this fabric at any other location, and I was scared. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be here much longer with the liquidation, and it's only at one store. So I grabbed it, and it wasn't too bad because it was in a novelty cotton section. I'll probably be making, usually with novelty cottons, I know some people don't like them, but for me, I like them because I can make vintage patterns, pretty much things like tops or dresses that have a little bit more structure, so it doesn't require any flow or like ease to it like some dresses would. So yeah, I will be using this for something really pretty this summer. Okay, so let's keep going. Gosh, you don't know you have acquired so much fabric until you look at it. Okay, so now we're getting into the 60 to 80% off fabrics. And I apologize if I'm a little stuffy. It is allergy season. My allergies start literally right around this time, so I can just feel the pollen just filling me up right now. So I am trying my best to get through this video. So yeah, let's talk about these fabrics that I got for an extra discounted price. And let's start with this beautiful beaded tweed. So if you are a Joann's regular, I'm sure you have seen this fabric before. I think all of us have seen this fabric. I love this beaded tweed. It has been on my list to get for quite a while, ever since it got in the store, quite honestly, but I just kept putting it off because I'm like, I want to get it for, you know, a better discount, or it wouldn't be on sale when I was looking at it. So I never got it, but this fabric is so pretty, like so, almost so pretty. I'm worried that it will stay in my stash for a while because fabrics like this tend to stay in my stash because I'm afraid to cut them. But my goal is to, I already go ahead and pick out the pattern, use a muslin, unfortunately, I'm anti-Muslim, you guys. I just, it's just the thought of sewing something twice is just like nerve-wracking. But use a muslin, and so I can feel really confident in cutting what I want to cut to use it. So very beautiful fabric. It is on my list. Quite honestly, I don't know. I feel like this is springtime, so it's quite honestly, I would have to make something very soon because I can't see myself wearing it in the summer when it's hot. I really don't know. I haven't worn tweed in a while. Like, I'm actually making a tweed dress right now, but quite honestly, I don't know if I'll wear it this season, like in real life, because it's getting warmer. So if it stays cooler, which, you know, maybe April, May will be like the end of the cool, the coolness, then I'll be able to wear it. Yeah, so we'll see if I can get it cut this season or if I'll have to wait and wear it next spring season. Yeah. Okay, so next we have, let's talk about these beautiful horses. Like, okay, so we have this beautiful horse fabric, equestrian fabric, I'll call it. And this is actually my first time buying modal. Am I saying it correctly? Modal or modal? Modal sounds real country. So modal or modal. And I was gravitated to this fabric specifically because I love horses. Like, my mom loves horses too. So I was just like, and I love the color scheme of it. Like, it's just really neutral, but at the same time has like flair to it. So I definitely wanted to get this fabric. It is one directional, and I have to be mindful of these fabrics because I will like get tired and the back will be upside down. So I just have to make sure that I cut it right, because usually I've been lucky to get all these print fabrics and they're, you know, multi-directional, so it doesn't matter how you cut them. But I did notice that the horses are all upright in one direction, so I have to make sure I do that. I do have a pattern in two patterns in mind for this fabric, and I will post them so you can see them. Yeah, and it actually, I was hesitant to get this fabric at first because I love the look of it, but it felt really hard. Like, it almost felt like something that wouldn't be used for clothing. Like, it wasn't like hard as like denim, but it didn't feel soft. But then when I washed it, instant change. So this must be one of those fabrics that you have to wash before you feel the softness, because it's almost like it's screamingly soft now. Like, I love touching it. It's that soft after washing it. So yeah, I have some ideals for this fabric that will be super cute, and I can see it being like an everyday piece in my collection. That's why I grabbed it as well, because I have the tendency to buy statement fabrics and, you know, make a statement piece and not wear it all the time, wear it like once a year or once every few years. So I have to stop doing that. Next we have this fabric that was literally, so let me tell you what I did the past few weeks, you guys. And yes, I have a life, okay? But it was a priority of mine. So what I would do, I would go in Joann's every few weeks and hide the fabrics that I wanted. Don't tell anybody. So I would like hide them by like keeping them in the same spot, but I would take some of the fabric from the bolt beside it and like wrap it around the boat that I wanted so no one could see the fabric. So yeah, I did this to this fabric several times, and it stayed here. I did it to this fabric too, like no one knew where this fabric was because they were hidden for like weeks, okay? So I'm gonna tell you how that bit me in the butt later on in the fabric haul. So this fabric, I love, as I just said, edible fabric. It's just something about edible stuff on fabric that really draws me. And as soon as I saw those oranges and grapes and the floral with it, it just gave ethereal, it gave whimsical, just, I don't know. I was just literally could not stop thinking about this fabric. So I kept making sure it was hidden because I wanted to make sure I had enough of it. And I love this fabric. Like, it's so pretty. So pretty. Isn't it so pretty, you all? So I'm just thinking about making a really ruffly type dress, kind of similar to maybe the dress I made for Atlanta Frogtails. Something similar to that, where it's roughly maybe off the shoulder or maybe kind of like V-neck, flounce, you know, situation. Yeah, I'm thinking about something like that. So I'm probably going to go back and get more fabric just to make sure I have enough for something that I'm imagining in my head. Okay, and the last fabric. So as I told you, I was hiding fabrics to make sure that they were there when I was ready to buy them. So let me just go ahead and show you this fabric. If you are a Joann's regular, you have seen this fabric many, many times. It's showing up faded in the camera, but it's really like dark denim and bleached. So I had seen this fabric at least for the past 5 years, y'all. Like, no lie, like 2020, like when I first started going to Joann's regularly, I saw this fabric, and every time I saw it, I would be like, I'm gonna get that next time. I'm gonna get that next time. I'll get it next time. Oh, it's not on sale. I'll just wait until it's on sale next time. And here we are in March 2025, and now that Joann's is closing, I was freaking out because I was like, I did not get that denim fabric. So this denim fabric has to be on the list. So my strategy towards making sure that I didn't buy in excess and buy fabrics that I really didn't want and buy fabrics out of fear with Joann's was I went through Joann's before the liquidation sale when it was rumored that they were closing, and I took pictures of the fabrics that I really, really, really wanted, not just that I wanted because they were closed. So that's how I was able to like hide the fabrics and keep track and not buy fabrics that I just saw and, you know, impulse buys or whatever. So this was one of those fabrics, but by the time they ran that 20% off sale, because I was just like, I'm not paying 20% off for it, I'm not paying 30% off for it, it at least has to be 40% off, right, for the denim fabrics. And yeah, so I got to the store ready to buy my fabric, right? I was just like, you know, this was when I bought the fabrics that I bought with that particular fabric. When I went to the store, I was like, okay, let me go ahead and get this denim fabric, because when I tell you in my stores, particularly in Georgia, this fabric has been sitting collecting dust. Like, it has been in this store for years. Like, at least since 2020, this fabric has been in this store, right? I see it all the time, and I say, like, I'm gonna get it next time, right? So when I'm finally ready to get it, it's gone. Now, keep in mind, it was 2 bolts of this fabric, right? And I'm just like, there's no way that a Joann's regular customer has seen this fabric for years, and now all of a sudden they want to buy both bolts, right? Excluding myself, because I've seen it for years, right? So I'm like devastated. And my husband had went in there with me and my son, and and I was telling him about this denim fabric. So we have inside jokes. We call it denim now, right? And we just say like, denim's gone, you know, denim's never coming back. So I was like, wow. So I ended up going to the store that's a little farther away. Now, keep in mind, this mysterious 20% off additional sale is only at my local store, which worries me that they're closing soon, right? I get to the store that's a little bit farther away, realize they don't have the additional 20% off sale, but they do have the denim fabric. And I go to the counter, they're like, it's $14 a yard. I'm like, I'm not paying $14 a yard because I only do 10 and up for specialty fabrics. And I'll tell you what specialty fabric I paid $16 a yard for later. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have to wait until they do the additional 20% off at the store that's farther away. Hopefully this story is making sense. So something tells me the next day, I'm like, you know what? Let me go back to my local store, the store that I always go to, and look again. So, I was just like, I'm going to look on every single aisle, right? So I look on every single aisle. I go all the way to the back where the clearance fabrics are. I come back up where, the regular fabrics are. I'm looking where the novelty cottons are. I'm looking everywhere, right? Something tells me to just go back down towards the clearance fabrics. So I look at the clearance fabrics. It's not back there. So in my local Joann's, there's a aisle before you get to the clearance aisle. It's called like Happy Deals, or the little Happy Deals they have. I thought that was for jewelry, but apparently they have it for fabrics. The fabrics on that aisle are really crafty fabrics. So I had never been on that aisle before, but something told me, I think it was God, y'all. I know it seems petty, but I think he was like, let me help her out. Something told me to just go down that aisle. I go down the aisle. Both of the bolts are sitting at the end of the aisle. Like, I don't know if the employees all the employees there right now are new, so they really don't know where the fabrics go because they haven't been working at Joann's. Both of the bolts were there. So I don't know if someone was like me and hid them or what happened, but they were hidden and I found them. So I think that was my karma because I was hiding these fabrics like almost daily. And then when I really wanted a fabric, it was hidden, but I found it. So, so I got this fabric. So it's nothing new, not a new fabric. If you are a Joann's regular, you have seen this fabric before. I did not search the ends before I washed that fabric. But I was like, I gotta get this fabric. So I finally got this fabric that I have been putting off buying for the past few years, and I'm happy. So before this video gets too long, thank you so much for chatting with me, you guys. I know it's been forever. So yeah, I'm catching up. So okay, so now that Joann's will not be here anymore, and keep in mind, so the thing about Joann's, I'm acting like I have been shopping there for 20 years, but I haven't. Like I literally, so going back to when I bought the fabric for my first dress, right? That was at Joann's. But then I discovered Fine Fabrics, right? So Fine Fabrics is pretty much a fabric warehouse that has discounted fabrics. And they had me for my whole entire 20s. Like from the time I found out about them up until I started back shopping at Joann's 5 years ago, I was shopping at Fine Fabrics. The thing about Fine Fabrics, because I keep hearing, a lot of people assume that cities that have more fabric options will be okay. Let me just tell you this, as a long time Fine Fabric shopper. So I'll tell you, when I started shopping at Fine Fabrics, I started sewing in 2010. I started shopping at Fine Fabrics in 2011. So I have been a long time customer, and it has changed. Like, I was shopping at Fine Fabrics in its original location, like before a lot of people would think of Norcross, if you're familiar with Atlanta, but before they were there, where they were in Norcross, they were up the road at another building. That was their very first location. And I'll just say this. Shopping in going in a Joann's like was a breath of fresh air for me, because I could go at any point in time. It was near my house, number one. And I literally, if I needed to get outside the home, because I literally do everything from home. I work from home. I go to school at home. I don't have a commuting, out to work outside of the home lifestyle anymore. So Joann's gave me that balance of being able to go in the store and to hang out, like to actually sit down, look at patterns, have a pleasurable experience. So let me be clear, that is not Fine Fabrics. Fine Fabrics is a warehouse. So it's gritty. It is not as fluorescent lighting, like it's hard concrete floors, is not, and no music is playing. It's not a vibe. That's what I'm saying. So you go in there, you get your fabric, you can be inspired. I would be inspired, and I would used to walk around in there for hours, but it has gotten so big now that I'm just like, I gotta know what I want going in this store. If I see something I like along the way, okay, cool, but it's just not a place where you just browse unless you've never been there before, unless you're a tourist and you're visiting. So I say that to say that Fine Fabrics is not an alternative to Joann's. It is an alternative to, of course I go in there, I get my remnant fabrics because they're so big. If I want particular buttons, I go in there. If I just am bored and I'm in the area, I'll go in there. But it's not a pleasurable experience, just because the environment, which they can't help, and because of the demographic. Honestly, let's be real, Atlanta is the place of everybody is everybody, and there's so many everybody is everybody in there. It's hard to it's not the same vibe as Joann's, where you can have a conversation with people and it's down to earth and you're just home. So it's not that vibe. It's everyone has a business. Everyone is a designer. You might see some reality stars in there wandering around the fabric aisles to get a scene. It's just a totally different vibe. So Fine Fabrics is a place that I have gotten tired of. But number one, because I've shopped there for so many years. But number two, just because it's just not the same vibe. So it'll be there, but it's not an alternative for me. And I wanted to, while I was talking about Fine Fabrics, I wanted to go ahead and show a fabric that I got from them on top of this haul not too long ago. So I did get this fabric from Fine Fabrics. The only reason I was in Fine Fabrics is because I was working with a potential client. And she wanted to look in Fine Fabrics and see what fabrics they have, and she ended up gifting me this fabric because I had my eyes on it. So yeah, so that's what I'll leave it there with Fine Fabrics. Also, the quality of the fabric, I go there for particular fabrics. Like before I started really understanding fabric, I would get their knits all the time. I didn't understand that paper thin knits were like not high quality, especially because I was younger. Like when you get older, your body changes, your taste changes, and I would get their stretchy spandex fabrics, and I didn't care about quality. I was just being young and creating things. It was a great place to explore because it was really cheap. And at the time, I didn't realize that the fabric looked really cheap too. But I didn't care. It was my inspiration. So they have higher quality fabrics in there, and they have some really low quality fabrics in there too. And the price will tell if you're getting a fabric for. At the time, I would get them for like $2.99, but now they're like $3.99, $4.99, $5.99. Then some of them do look like they are that price, and that's what you don't want as a sewist. But yeah, so that is one option that I do have that's there. As I said, it's not a replacement per se, but it is there for me to use when I need it, which is Fine Fabrics. Next, we have to talk about the fabric joint. So again, the fabric joint is not a aesthetically pleasing place. It is in a type of area. It's a type of area. I don't know what to say, y'all. It's a type of area where you need to go during the daytime. Let me be real. Like, I'm an Atlanta native, so let me be honest. It is in a shady area where you gotta go in the daytime. Like, quite honestly, it is what it is. So I have been there before several times. All I can say is, just get in there, lock your door, get in there and get out, and you'll be good, or whatever. So the fabric joint is this like smaller discount kind of fabric. I wouldn't even call it discount because their fabrics aren't as cheap as Fine Fabrics. So this like smaller fabric store. And I've been able to find some really good fancy fabrics from there. So I actually found a wool knit tweed really from there. And it was $16 a yard. And it was, like I said, I pay the price for fancy fabrics. Now, I'm not paying that for a knit or like a regular fabric. So it was $16 a yard. I got like 4 yards, I believe, 4.5 yards. And that I will definitely show that on the screen so you can see it. It has shimmer and it's beautiful. And I'm actually in the progress of finishing a dress with that fabric. I just have to put on the sleeves and the collar and do the hem, and it will be done. And this was my first time working with a knit wool tweed fabric, and it was actually really easier than I thought. I was scared to use the iron at first to like apply heat, because I thought it was just going to like fall apart, but it didn't. It's actually really sturdy because it's a natural fiber. But yeah, and I also got this fabric right here. So I would call this a reversible fabric, even though I know some people wouldn't. This is a beautiful, hopefully you can see the texture. Can you see the texture? I hope you can. And then on the back side, it has like a blue base. So you can see the like stitching. And I said I would actually use both sides for like a cross-colored blazer. Yeah, I just thought that it was really pretty. Like, can you see it? Can you see what I'm talking about? Like the green and the blue together in a garment. So I did get those from Fabric Joint. And keep in mind, I said it's a shady area, but this is just coming from someone this is my home, y'all. I frequent these shady areas with no problem, but I'm just talking about if you're not from Atlanta, if you don't know the areas, it's just good to be mindful. And so that is an option, Fabric Joint. And I actually went to the thrift store and I was able to thrift some fabric. I've been thrifting some crochet blankets too, which I'll have to, I might run upstairs and get them for you. So as I was saying, I found some really good finds at the thrift store, which is also an option to buy fabric, especially if you're looking for vintage fabric. Like buying fabric in the fabric store, modern fabric is cool, but if you can find some really nice vintage fabric, it made something, hey, do it. So I've been finding some really pretty crochet blankets that I plan to give a new life and turn into garment pieces, possibly like outerwear, like cardigans and stuff like that. So this is a really pretty granny square pink and white blanket that I did find that I plan to use very soon, because the cool thing about crochet, even though it does provide warmth, it does have those holes in it to provide airflow as well when you're wearing it. So I can see that being a spring garment. I also was lucky enough to find this fabric too. This blanket actually. This is a rainbow blanket. rainbow crochet blanket that I plan on doing something really long, maybe like a long duster or something with some length, because it's such a long blanket. And it's on the other side too. Okay, and the last thing I thrifted from the thrift store was this curtain. So you can actually use curtains to make garments too. Sometimes the curtains are the best for finding like suiting fabric. Like if you're looking to make something that has more so of a structured look. Like for example, I got this curtain and it is so pretty. It's a pretty blue, and I actually plan to make, I will show you the pattern here. It is a 2-piece vest and pants set. And as soon as I seen this curtain, I was like, yeah, that is the perfect fabric for it. So I will be using this particular curtain to make that pattern. And that's it, you guys. So I said that's it, like it's not a lot of fabric. But yeah, I have had a day at Joann's. I will miss it. Like I said, there is really no replacement I can think of. If you are particularly in Atlanta or new to Atlanta or near Atlanta, I will go ahead and list the fabric stores that we have that I am familiar with. That would be Fine Fabrics, The Fabric Joint, Fabric World. We do have thrift stores that have fabrics in them, and we have Gail K Fabrics. So that's the fabric stores that I'm thinking off the bat. If there are any else, I will provide them. And when I say fabric stores, I'm speaking specifically apparel fabric, not quilting fabric, not. We have a lot of upholstery fabric stores. Yeah, but just speaking specific apparel fabric that you can use for clothes. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share your thoughts below of what you think about Joann's closing. As I have shared with others before, I think Joann's is a tragic case because they were their only competition. I think the only thing they would have had to do was focus specifically on fabric and yarn and maybe jewelry, focus on those 3 things and get rid of all the excess toys and paper crafts and kitchen art. Like, it was just too much stuff. If they focused only on the right side of the store, they would have been better for it. But that's neither here nor there at this point. So I will keep you posted. I also plan to share a lot of footage of what I have recorded in the Joann stores. I really wish I would have got footage before they put up all the ugly black and yellow signs. It is overkill in my store. They actually have a huge sign in the store that says closing, as if we don't know they're closing on the inside. So yeah, I will post what I have, and I'm hoping to get an apron. I have worked out a deal with the employee that's retiring, and I'm hoping to get my Joann's apron because that's really what I want, something that says Joann's on it. So if you have not subscribed, subscribe, like, and comment below. What are your thoughts on Joann's? Tell me what fabric shopping you have been doing, if any. Are you still holding out, or is the discount enough for you at this point? Do you like any of my fabrics? And what are your thoughts on alternative options for Joann's? I know, keep in mind, I am aware that I'm blessed to have other options. I know there are states that don't have anything but commercial Joann's, Hobby Lobby, and then that's it. You know, so I'm grateful to have Fine Fabrics, but I do have to be honest and say that it's not the same. You know, it's not the same. I will miss being able to just sit in the store and look at pattern catalogs like it's 1995. Like, where else are you gonna do that? So yeah, again, I will see you in the next video, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.